Okay. Greetings, everyone. Keith here. Hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life. Um, Before we get started, I want to remind everybody go ahead and hit that share, like, and subscribe button. There's a PayPal link up there if you want to share some love. If you're on Hecklebus, go over to El Perro and subscribe and like there, and vice versa. If you're on El Perro, go over to Hecklebus and like and subscribe there. In the meantime, the StreamYard link is down below if you want to join the panel. And what we're doing today is we're going to go over a video of what they call sovereign citizen appearing in court. Now, if you watch a lot of those sovereign citizen quote videos, you'll see that a lot of them are quite discombobulated in the information that they bring forth. And I've watched a lot of those along with the First and Second Amendment audit videos, and I think a lot of them, for a large majority of them, are discombobulated in the information. But the one we're going to watch today, she's a 73-year-old lady, and she has more balls than most grown men. You know, one of the things I try to impress upon everybody in this realm of legal fiction is, if it's a legal fiction, then why do you need to sign anything? What happens when you sign on those legal fictions is you're stating facts that are supposedly true when that's false. The facts on those papers cannot possibly be true simply because that legal fiction is a presumption of the facts. So if you go around signing those documents as they are without line item veto and overriding them, you're letting them perpetrate the fraud and doing it without the proper knowledge. And that's your own entrapment. So it comes down to learning the knowledge. Again, Hosea 4:6, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. So when you think you've got this knowledge, you want to go out there and start throwing things at the wall and hoping something sticks. That's the wrong way of going about it. Like I said, I've been doing this for 7 years on this research end, and they ain't touched me because I quit filing documents. I quit signing documents. If you keep signing the shit that you don't know how to correct and amend, then you're the one that's going to be held to that liability. So think about this stuff, and we're going to get into this video. And like I said, that stream link is down there for anybody that wants to come up and join the panel. Now, this particular video is on Facebook, but it's from one of the people that I've been doing research with for pretty much the whole time. And if you go back in my stuff, you'll see that I started out on the birth certificate stuff, just like a lot of people. The difference in my research and everything, these people that are authenticating the birth certificate, you don't need to. All you got to do is take that birth certificate and, according to their law, flip it over and put your directive on it, and then give a handwritten statement of your intent along with that. Put your stamps on it and be done with it. It's their job to correct the record. All you got to do is give them the facts that are in error, and they're supposed to fix that record, period. That's their job. They're the administrators. You're not supposed to be stepping up in that. So pay attention to this woman, 73 years old. And like I said, she's one of the ones I've been studying and researching with throughout this entire 7 years. And she's very well put together. And it's like I said, in my last court appearance, I was the belligerent combatant that was cussing and swearing and fingering them, calling them communist bastards and all these other names. So that's just the wrong way to go about it. Like I said, this woman's very well put together, and she's been doing it long enough. She's got her emotions in place, and this is what full-grown men need to start doing. Okay? So I hope you pay attention. This is very important, and I'm going to be stopping it multiple times to discuss various different topics. So please, I urge everybody to be very commentary, be very open and expressive. about what your opinions and thoughts are. Here, this is an open panel. We are not going to get into these arguments. We have Socratic debates, and I will be a czar on that. I will be the communist on that, if you want, if that's those are the kind of terms you want to call me. I will be the censor. This is important because it's not only my right to express myself, like this lady's expressing herself in this court appearance, but it's also your right to know. And this is why I get upset when I'm speaking and people interrupt with just inane bullshit. It's a matter of getting down to the literal facts and the spirit of those facts, period. So please pay attention and follow along.
Talk with Miss Lucia.
And let me know if you find any problems with audio or anything like that.
She is unrepresented, Your Honor.
Okay, you're not representing her.
That's correct.
Okay. All right, we called a case of 22-239. Margaret Bruno, is it Lucia?
This is who you're calling right here, Your Honor.
Yeah.
Just so we're clear, I'm representing the, authorized representative for the legal fiction.
Now, this is her. If you see my cursor, this is her that just walked up along the bar. Pay attention to what she says and where she stands. This is absolutely proof and evidence that this is the way you can operate in court. And if I ever get up to pulling up my court appearance and showing you, I questioned this at the very beginning in the initial appearance, which they didn't give this woman. They didn't give her an initial appearance. So when I went up in there and I asked about going across that bar, he said if I didn't, I was going to be arrested. So it's very important to pay attention to the events and be able to go back and reflect on them. It's very important to set in stone your memory and recollection so that you can reflect on it accurately. This is the importance of reflecting on yourself repeatedly so that those images and events don't get misconstrued over time and you discombobulate them yourself. Very important.
And I cannot cross the bar if you, I can't cross the bar, you know that. It's all about
I can hear you.
jurisdiction.
Can you hear me okay?
I can, yeah.
All right.
It's not as sophisticated as my hearing aids, but I can hear you this time.
All right.
All right, I just want to be clear.
You see, you do not have to cross that bar. Many times they will try to force you and coerce you. And that's the problem. It puts people in fear. You've got to get over that fear. And like I said, the only way you get over the fear is by being able to know the actual facts that are true and not presumptions.
Clear that when I was here for the arraignment, first off, I never had a first appearance within 24 hours.
And that's very important because, again, in my situation, it was the same thing. They arrested me alongside the road like they did this woman and then took her to jail. No, that's the false process. You as a defendant, even before you appear in front of the judge in 24 hours, that is a false process. That's a false presumption because the only way a court can obtain personal jurisdiction is two elements. You have to first be properly served within the state in which the court sits, telling us that the court does not have standing. And the defendant needs to voluntarily appear in court. So as soon as they pull you over alongside the road, that's a failure of the process due because they are not serving you appropriately through the mail, through diplomatic channels of notice. They are using an officious intermeddler is what it's called. Officious intermeddler. And that is a false process.
I was incarcerated for 13 days without a first appearance. Bond was set.
And that's true because you wouldn't sign the documents at the jail. Until you sign documents at the jail, you don't.
See, and what she's going to make a point of here is that there is nowhere in law that requires you to sign. There's nowhere in law that requires you to have an ID, like I've said many times. So, and again, in my research and everybody, none of us in this huge group of people that I research with, have never found anything that requires you to have ID nor to sign any documents.
Where is that written that you have to sign anything? Because I couldn't find it. It just simply says within 24 hours I would go before a judge. I had
You
felony
weren't properly
charges.
booked, so that's the way that was, but I'm not gonna argue with that point.
And Joe Cool, the answer to your question is that's a bar. When you set your bar, it's like a high jump. You set your bar and you work on improving yourself so that you can raise that bar. When you go into that bar, if you look at the setup, he's sitting up on a tier, and then he's got this other tier here. And it's the same with the witness stand here. But when you're here, you're in the lowest tier. When you're here, you're outside of the tiers. There are no levels. You are at the, like she's going to tell them, she is above them. That's why she's not going to enter into their leveling system, their grading system, their partial system, their party system, participation system.
But go
Okay,
ahead.
well, I just want to get it on the record that I am here on a special appearance, and I'm just the authorized representative for this birth certificate. It has been federally authenticated, if you want to take a look at it.
And again, this is where she says it's been federally authenticated. You do not have to do that, because if you, according to my research, let me make this clear. I'm not saying that you can't do that. But again, there is nothing in their code that says you have to sign or have an identification. So merely getting that certificate, the only way it can be authentic is if the proper seals are on it, and they already sent it to you with the proper seals. That means by their publishing and their laws under copyright and patent trademark laws, they already have an authentic document that they present to you. It's already authenticated with those seals and numbers and everything on it. It's a chain of title, and all you have to do is move that title to the proper place.
It has been certified by the state and federally authenticated. I hope I am the owner of this SQQ.
And that is merely by a directive and not by authentication. Again, flip the damn thing over and put your directive on there according to 50 U.S.C. 4305 in the interest of the United States. Discharge for full acquittance and discharge for the person making the same, so that no person is held liable in any court. That's your proper setup or proper discharge and acquittance in the military forum. You see that flag right there? That's got a gold fringe on it. It's got an eagle on the top. That's a military admiralty flag. In every venue that you see that flag, that's a military venue. She does not have to cross a bar. She's a female. They know she's not part of the military. It's only for selective service for men as a requirement, not women. So she's got an advantage in that. But every male that has that Social Security application with the Social Security number, it's supported with a selective service number. So when a male walks in, they say, oh, no, you're subject. You got to come in that. And that's, again, a fear. If you've never actually been in the military, like myself, I applied for the military, but they rejected me. So that selective service number can't be any kind of military venue in the actual admiralty aspect. It can only be in the military venue in a maritime aspect. In other words, I've got to be a merchant. That means I have to have a merchant license, period.
Do you understand what that means?
Not a clue.
Really? Okay.
A judge that sits on the bench and has no clue what a birth certificate and the intentions and the meaning of it are. Not one. The basic concept of a birth certificate through the enumeration at birth is the place where one was born and the place where a person was established in regards to that nativity, period. And that documentation only establishes the person. There's no record placed anywhere for the memorialization of the man that is discharged of his mother's waters and therefore is a living soul and therefore is not applicable under any of their codes, because even under agriculture, animal includes man. Those are nouns. Again, a living soul is a verb, not a who, a what.
It means that I'm not in your jurisdiction. I stand on the land and soil. I'm under the public law.
Okay.
And I have a right to pass through service.
And her verbiage there, I think, is a little off. I'm above the public law, and she has a right to pass through service. And that's what I've been telling people about this banking system. They have accounts that you can use as a pass-through. That's what your entity is supposed to be, is a pass-through. It is not supposed to be a stopping point where you hold on to their documentation for them. You're supposed to be a pass-through. So when I opened the older bank account for my PayPal account, they had to accept it only as a pass-through and not a depository institution. Okay?
All right, so I take it you're representing yourself today?
No, I am presenting myself.
Difference in representing, representing, and presenting. See, you were sent already. That's a presentation, not a representation. The representation is the person. And he asked her, are you representing yourself? No, I'm presenting myself. I'm not representing the person. I am presenting myself. Very distinct. Grammar is specific as the law is specific. It's dependent upon the letter of the law, and that goes to the spirit of the law. So if you don't know how to present the word spiritually, you are going to lose.
Okay. So you're not going to enter a plea today or work out negotiations or anything?
I'm not making any plea whatsoever. I have not consented to contract with this court in any way.
Okay.
I'm an American state national. I'm not a sovereign citizen. That was a hate crime under which I was arrested, and the arresting officer has since quit his job.
This was a month and a half ago this lady was arrested. And the officer that arrested her quit his job because of this. This is no fluke, people. When people learn how to stand up and they start putting the nuts in the grinder, they run. They run.
Jasper Police Department.
All right, well, see if we can,
I have a file here that I have one prepared for both the prosecutor and for you, Judge, if you'd like to take a look and go along with me on what I'd like to bring before the court. My goal is that this case get dismissed with prejudice before I walk out today.
well, that's not going to happen, but we'll take a look at those files.
Okay?
Well, that's not going to happen. See, he's already made his determination. That's bullshit. She's going to go on for another 20 minutes and explain to this man why he's wrong. And he's still going to set a hearing. This is how stupid these people are. But pay attention to what she says. I ain't going to be back. She has more balls than most people I know.
They're the same one for each of you.
Oh, and another point, she said dismiss. Okay, you don't dismiss charges. Again, 50 U.S.C. 4305. She claimed that sovereign citizen was a crime against humanity. And she's in a military court. So you use the military code, 50 U.S.C. 4305, trading with the enemy. They're calling her the sovereign citizen. They're calling her the enemy. Okay? Full acquittance and discharge, not dismissal. Discharging what was charged. And if she does it right as a principal, she places the interest in the United States and lets everybody know she is the principal. So anything that was invested and made a return, that return is supposed to be reverted back to her through the conversion that it was first converted in. See, when they take those data elements, they convert them for their use. Now, when she corrects the record, they've got to be reverted. That means it's got to go through a conversion so it can go back to her. What you put out is supposed to come back. That's the proper definition of circulation.
We'll take them under review for you.
Okay.
Give me one. Give Miss Tiffany one she can take back and look it over. All right, well, here's what we're going to do today. I'll look this over for you. I'll look this over.
This file is not completed. Let me explain. All the highlighted areas, I met with the clerk of court, Greg Godwin, and the areas that were in yellow here, I expected that he would be able to provide the information for me to complete these documents. I am not able to mail them until I can get them completed. He suggested that I talk with, is it John Durham, or who is it, Durant? Am I?
And I believe what she's talking about here are the bonds. Again, they're putting bonds in your name or in that name and holding you against it. That's what she's looking for. She's looking for the bonds to hold everybody accountable. Every last one of these people in the court, this lady here, this guy here, the guy standing here, he is liable. He is a witness as a public trustee, and he has a fiduciary duty called misprision of felony. If he sees a felony before him, he's supposed to report it. Guess what? None of these people are reporting the felony that she was called a sovereign citizen. That's defamation of character under the laws of war. 50 U.S.C. 4305. This is an admiralty court. Military venue. That is a war crime.
Am I getting that correct, Tabitha?
That's Mr. Durant, state attorney.
Durant.
Against a national.
Okay. He suggested I should talk with him as far as getting this information completed. He said he wasn't able to complete the information. Otherwise, I can hire somebody to get this information for me. So if this case is not going to be submitted, but the first letter in here is a fair notice and warning letter. And
Fair notice and warning. So I'm going to give everybody a fair notice. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button. There is a PayPal button up there if you want to share some love, and we'll get back to it. But that notice is important. This is what she's going to talk about. She gave her notice years ago. Years ago. And every last one of these people should have been noticed. Notice to principal is notice to agent. Notice to agent is notice to principal. They should have been running this all through their system.
And it speaks to what the issues are here. First off, it was a false arrest because I do have a right to travel. No, and then also there is no contract. The application for a driver's license does not tell anybody that you are trading a God-given right for a privilege. There is no victim in this crime because I have a right to face an accuser. And there's no.
And the cop that arrested her quit. So what the fuck is, what kind of game are these people playing? Thinking, well, you hurt the officer, we need to be compensated. See how fucking insane this shit is, people?
Nobody here that was harmed. Deprivation of due process, Your Honor. You denied me a first appearance, and I have.
The officer denied her the first appearance, and everybody that follows up along that officer's directive as a military officer carrying a gun on his side. That's the true offense. They disseminated false information right from the start, and every last one of them is culpable because the record must reflect accurately. This is why I keep telling everybody it's just a matter of correcting the record. Come out of your fear, correct the record, and just know how to stand on it. And that's the only way you can do it, is you have to know.
And I've heard the charges because I am hard of hearing. I brought that to the attention of the court at the arraignment. And your comment was simply, I'm talking as loud as I can. Well, that doesn't do any good for somebody who has a disability. And you have a responsibility to me under the Americans with Disabilities Act. And
very good point she made there. We're not able to go into those administrative courts. That is a disability. And by thinking that we have to enter shit in on our record, that makes it seem like we're trying to be capable. When we're not. We are not capable. It's not a cape, it's a cap. Like Cap 10, like the helmet of salvation. You're putting on the wrong fucking helmet.
so I have issues with that. So up until, I still haven't really heard the charges. You know, when it started out, I was slammed with 7 felony charges. Had a violation of my Fourth Amendment rights because they did a search and seizure of my vehicle. They tossed my car completely. He claimed he found a phone in my car. He didn't. He took it out of my hand after shoving my arm. That was assault and battery. And then when I got into the police vehicle, my keys were in my pocket. He took them out of my pocket. All right, that again is assault and battery, and also could be considered rape.
It's also a violation under eminent domain for public use because it's a takings clause. They can only take shit from you for public use, and it's got to be decided beforehand that the public needs it, and it's a necessity, period. What they're doing is just so fucking out of bounds. It's pathetic. You really need to step up, people. Again, this is a 73-year-old woman. She's got more balls than most grown men I know.
Prosecutor Travis Munden did not act for 8 days. He allowed me to sit in jail for 8 days with felony charges hanging over my head, of which you put a $38,000 bond on me without my participation.
Very distinct there. He placed the bond, not her. He used her name to place the bond. That's usury for public benefit without necessity. That's the eminent domain clause, Fifth Amendment. They can't take your shit unless it's for military purpose, for military use, the safety of its operations, and the military. That's it.
Again, that was a violation or deprivation of due process. The felony charges were bogus. I'm an international notarial witness for the United States of America, unincorporated.
International notarial witness. Not a notary, but a notarial witness. What is notarial? It means you can make notes to their record to help fix it as a witness, and not as a presumption of a legal fiction.
I had those.
My yay is my yay, my nay is my nay.
Were the driver's license on my phone and birth certificates because I do remote notarization for people. I had a right to have that. I had it by permission of the people that sent it to me.
Remote numerization. Again, the routing is by the number, not the name. I am telling you, I've been telling you for 7 years. It's by the number, not the name. Secret Agent Man by Johnny Rivers. They gave you a number and took away the name.
The prosecutor, Dana Brady, she failed to act for 6 days. After, on July 1st, Travis transferred it from the felony side over to misdemeanors. She sat on it for 6 days. I sat in jail for 13 days, not even knowing what was going on. And it wasn't until after I got out of jail and I called her, and while I was on the phone, she goes, "Oh, here it is." She asked me what my name was, and she goes, "Oh, here it is," and she opened it while I was on the phone. So Travis sat on it for 7 days. Whatever happened to due process? Don't they have a responsibility to act timely? Because I know I do.
And acting timely, like she said, she spent 13, 14 days in jail. So what's the deal about being represented by counsel? They can't do anything with somebody that's not represented by counsel. And the only counsel that can be represented is that of a corporate entity, a fictional entity, period. The reason that they can only represent fictional entities is because the fictional entity can't represent itself. And again, it goes to the importance of her correcting him in his use of representation and saying, no, I'm not here representing, I am presenting.
All right. I was kidnapped. I was kidnapped and taken to a prisoner of war camp.
Kidnapped and taken to a prisoner of war camp. Again, that's a military flag telling you they are operating militarily, and she is speaking absolutely correctly. If any of the brethren of the children of Israel are caught stealing one of those children and making merchandise of them, they shall be put to death. The United States has a code called kidnapping, and it concurs with this. a sentence of anywhere up to life, including death.
I have no choice in this, and I'm an American. I'm an American state citizen. I stand above this court. I stand above this for-profit corporation.
And I wouldn't, though she's correct in that, I still wouldn't take upon the term American state national. I am a citizen of heaven, and that is where my communication is. That's scriptural. The term citizen is used in the scriptures, and it's used in reference to a citizen of heaven. We are not of this world. We are in this world. That's it.
First time that I saw you, sir, was 44 days after my arrest. And again, my Americans with Disability Act rights were violated, in that you made no accommodation at all for my not being able to hear you. So as far as I know, I never did put in a plea. I have not pled in any way whatsoever. I have not consented. I have signed absolutely nothing.
I have signed absolutely nothing. They have no signature to produce any liability. So again, like I've said many times, the liability exists in the record and those who hold the record. And again, it's not by the name, it's by the number.
I signed no citations. I have had communication with Tabitha and Dana. We have been writing back and forth on our 72 rule of response, and I can't get answers out of them. They keep telling, I asked for documentation, and all I get is no documents responsive, no documents responsive, over and over again. I asked her for her oath of office on Florida letterhead, nothing. I get a scrap of paper. I asked her for a signed contract on my side, I get a citation that's not signed. The citation wasn't even signed by the arresting officer.
Oops. Oops. It wasn't signed by the arresting officer, it was signed by somebody else. So you have a arresting officer with firsthand comments and experience that are out of process. He's not supposed to be stopping people alongside the road using those lights. That's an emergency only use, and that is a felony. So they start out committing a felony themselves.
By somebody else, and it has comments in it that says I said something, and I would appreciate eye contact, sir. I don't appreciate being ignored by the court. So anyway, I didn't sign anything. I have not contracted with this court. I haven't contracted at all. And why? Because I don't need to. I'm not under these statutes, rules, regulations, codes, ordinances, mandates, and all the rest. I tried to explain that to the public defender here that you assigned to talk to me. And then basically,
that you assigned to talk to me. So if he assigned it, he is the grantee. And the assignment goes to the trustee. That means the third party is the beneficiary. Learn trust law.
basically everything out of his mouth came out right out of this hate crime document called Law Enforcement Guide to Sovereign Citizens. I'm not a
Almost every word of his report came out of that document, proving the defamation of character, slander, and libel. Slander is spoken, libel is written. And in so doing, he defamed her character, which she already has in, on, and for the record. And he's saying that record isn't good. He's saying the current record that he's placing is the proper record. And that's false on the face.
more. I'm not a Waukesha Nation. I'm an American state citizen. To
Okay.
call somebody a
Yeah, non-citizen national. Again, Jeremiah 1:5. Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. This is the original communication in heaven. That's where we come from, the citizenship. Before thou was cast from the womb, this is the transfer from the grantee to the trustee. Mom is the trustee. Dad is the grantee. I sanctified thee. I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations, telling us we are above the nations, outside the nations, first and foremost. And by making a claim of nationality, we enter into the nations. So again, I think that's still a presumption of a legal fiction, because nations themselves are legal fictions.
Sovereign citizen is slander. To put it in writing is libel. Sovereign is a king, somebody who is governing, self-governing. Citizen is somebody who works for another.
Self-governing as opposed to one who works for another. So if you're going to be self-governing, you have to use the concept and principles of working for another in the sense of spirit and not the letter of the law. In other words, it's the covenant, the trust, and not a contract.
It's an oxymoron. It's not even real, and yet law enforcement wants to act on that kind of foolishness. Even the public defender here believes in it. I am a private living woman. My responsibility is to balance the accounts of the public, the public all caps name, and to keep the public charitable trust in balance. Roosevelt put us on an all debit system.
And this is why I tell people it's your capabilities through the knowledge that if the books are out of balance because they're charging something that's false, that automatically should tell you that the books are out of balance, and you should do everything you can to bring them back in balance, because you don't want to be that belligerent combatant like I was. I didn't know this back then. So now it's more pertinent to comprehend that if you just bring the books into balance, the books don't show an out of balance accounting. And in doing so, it shows that you're in cooperation with the United States and not that combatant person.
And these credits have been stolen from the people. And all I'm trying to do is my responsibility here. So I'm planning to subrogate this. If you look at the second document, or maybe you already have, and you've seen the list of people I will send it to. Governor DeSantis has been involved in my case. I have a letter here that was sent to him. If you would like to see that, let's see, maybe it's in one of the other files. Anyway, he has been involved in this as well, because he is also part of the problem here, in that he is not assisting the Americans within this state to be safe from the harm that is being caused by this system.
And governors are military commanders. They are the chief officer. They are the commander in chief. So again, it's the military venue, and that's why she gave notice to the governor. He is the military commander in chief at the state level, and the president is the commander in chief at the national level. So again, when we're correcting these records, I'm telling you, those are the people you have to communicate with: the president, the governor, the Department of Secretary, or the Secretary of State at both the federal and state levels, the Bureau of Consular Affairs, the embassy at both federal and state levels, all these people in their dual capacities on the state and federal levels. That's the dual citizenship.
By the law enforcement officers and deputies who are not educated as to who we are. I had sat down, I had noticed both the police chief and the sheriff on 2 different occasions. They have my fee schedule as to what I'll be charging when this is all over, and I have to come back and have my rights restored and my property restored. My car was towed from in front of the police station. That's where I was when all this happened. I was in talking to Chief Rickerson. I went in and I noticed both the chief and the sheriff, the clerk of court, and the property appraiser when I got here back in March, that I was an American state citizen and I'm not a U.S. citizen. They were both noticed. They've both been noticed twice. And along with that was the fee schedule of what I charge when my rights are violated. I was talking with the police chief for the 4th time. We have sat down and had 4 conversations on how we educate the officers to know the difference so people are not harmed on the side of the road. I wasn't even on the side of the road. I was parked in front of the police station when all this went down. I wasn't even in my car. This officer got in my face back in April, and he stood there. Okay, I was meeting with the police chief, Chief Rickerson. At that time, he was an interim police chief. And this officer barged into our discussion and got in my face and started spitting on me with his saliva. He was like this close to me, yelling at me, telling me, I'm a police officer for 25 years and I've dealt with plenty of people like you. And he went on and on and on, okay? No, he hasn't dealt with anybody like me because I know my rights. And I've studied this. Why? Because you could not get through the 2020 election and not know that there's something seriously wrong with this country.
And that's part of the problem is the police don't know the law. They don't know a lot of the operations and stuff. So even when you present them information like this, they don't know what to do with it. They're sticking to the letter of the law that they know. And most of the times they're not even learned enough in the letter of the law that usually when they pull somebody over, they've got to look something up to try to figure out whether they can place a charge on them or not. They're already wanting to place a charge. They just got to figure out what charge they can convince the other person or other party that they're going to charge them with. So again, it's important that once they charge you to look up those codes and find out what the language is so you can dispute it. And that dispute is to correct him. And again, like I said, this lady put her documentation in years ago. There was already a communication at those levels that it should have trickled down and all these people should know. But it doesn't happen because, again, these people don't know their job. So when something is presented to them, they throw it in file 13 or something. Like she said, the requests that she made, they all come back, no data found. They're blatantly not even paying attention to what they're supposed to be looking at. It's right in front of them. What do you mean it can't be found? Here's the file number. Here's the record. It was filed 10 years ago. Well, that doesn't count. Excuse me? Why doesn't it count? Because we don't understand it? What? Obviously.
And I have seen this coming for many, many years. I studied it with my husband. My husband passed back in 2010. In July of 2016, I read an article that the Pope had relinquished our Social Security accounts to the U.S. Treasury, and I knew something had changed. Something was up, and I went looking. And when I went looking, I found at least 20 organizations trying to help people come out of slavery, come out of this U.S. citizen slavery. You're a slave to the British Crown, which is the administrative arm, to the Pope, which is the financial arm, and to Washington, D.C., the District of Columbia, which is the military arm.
And I've been saying this for many years as well. See, it's the Vatican that has the executive power of the wealth. It's the European Union with the Bank of London that has the administrative powers of the financing, the funding. It's the D.C. corporate entity and its citizenized structure in duality, the dual citizenship. And remember, it's the U.S. dollar that is the world currency. Okay? So the military branch under the administrative funding of the executive wealth is the one that's giving the demands. DC is demanding everything, and everybody placates to that fear and subjects themselves to it. You don't have to. That's all foreign corporate shit. It's the wealth of the world, not the wealth of heaven. The wealth of heaven is in the knowledge. That's the benefit. Here on earth, the benefit is the materialistic things. And I don't know how people go along in life getting all these materialistic things from taking them from other and feel good about it.
We have the one world government. Well, I don't go with that because I serve a king. I serve the Almighty King. That is who I am. I am a child of the King. I'm not a U.S. citizen. I'm a child of the King, and I have rights that were given to me, sovereign rights given to me by my Creator. And I live by the Bible. I don't live by any kind of religion, sir. I read the Bible cover to cover, and I do what it says. And when it says that there are 2 commandments in the New Testament that Jesus, or Yeshua, I prefer to call him by his Hebrew name, the 2 commandments, to love God above all things and to love your neighbor as yourself, I live by that. But that's a summary of the 10 commandments that are in the Old Testament, Exodus 20. And the first 5 commandments are how you love your Creator. And the second 5 commandments is how you love your neighbor. And I live by that, sir. And this officer had to break several of those commandments to put me into this system.
He put his hands on a child of Israel and kidnapped her for commercial purposes because he had to take a paycheck home to provide for his family. Selfish bastards.
He had to lie, and he had to steal my property. And if this is the system of this government or this for-profit corporation is trying to force on the people, then you guys should all be ashamed of yourself.
People should be very, very ashamed of themselves. This is the crux of what we're doing today, is that people aren't. Like I said, they're taking things from people that they shouldn't have, and they're doing it for their own paycheck, and they feel good about that because they're providing for their family. It's bullshit. So real quick here as a reminder, hit that share, like, and subscribe button. There is a PayPal button if you want to share some love, and we're back to it.
I am asking, I'm not asking, I am demanding. See, a sovereign does not motion the court. A sovereign demands. I am demanding that this case be dismissed with prejudice because I'm going down for the count. I'll take whatever punishment you give me. And I think my 13 days in jail without signing anything, just for comfort, should give you an idea of the fact that I finish what I start.
And like she said, she'll take it to the ground. She's willing to sacrifice her body. Yea, ye shall even hate your own life. If you don't, you cannot follow Jesus. It's not about your life. It's about the principle and making sure that the principle is brought forth first, not the deceit and greed to make a fucking paycheck.
I went into that jail, Your Honor. I was quite a surprise. I wasn't prepared for it. If it hadn't been that I took a couple in who were homeless, I probably would have ended up going home to a dead dog in a house full of crap. But that gentleman, the people that I took in who were homeless, called my girlfriend and said she didn't come home last night. Well, my girlfriend knew that I was on my way to the post office in Live Oak, and she knew I was going to stop by and talk to the sheriff. So first call she made was to the Suwannee County Jail. Second call was to the Hamilton County Jail, and she found me. I was sitting in jail. I've never been in trouble with the law before.
Never been in trouble with the law before. Corrected her documentation years ago, and at 73 years of age, they decide they're going to start taking her shit because they don't like what she's speaking. She didn't get pulled over. She didn't have any traffic violations or nothing. It wasn't until that one officer invaded the communication she was having with the chief of police and his butthurt shit because he was realizing he wasn't going to be able to make a big paycheck, or he was feeling butthurt himself because she was speaking out against his fucking lies and shit. We've got to learn how to start standing up. And it was synchronicity that she had somebody in the home, like she said. Otherwise, she could have gone home 14 days later to a dead dog that died of thirst. This is pathetic what people do. They will cause chaos and kill people, just and animals and everything without even thinking about it because they want a paycheck. Fucking greedy ass motherfucking control psychotic bitches. Excuse my language, folks.
Do you know what it's like for a 73-year-old woman to have to stand there and take her underwear off and stand in front of somebody else?
How humiliating. How degrading. And these people think they got balls? They're nothing but fucking cowards.
That was so humiliating. You want to talk about rights? Let's just talk about basic humanity here. And I was given an orange jumpsuit. I don't look good in orange at all. I have to bring some humor so I can sit down and cry. I wore that jumpsuit in my underwear for 13 straight days because I wouldn't sign your paperwork, because I would not come in contact with this corporation, this for-profit corporation. You're not a government. Let's be honest. Because I wouldn't come in contact with you. I suffered extremely.
And so the point here again is that signature. She would have signed on the first day, they would have let her out. But because she stood her ground and refused to sign, they kept making it worse and worse and worse for her. And I guarantee you, when it's said and done, it's going to be worse for them. The one officer already quit. I guarantee you, this judge on the bench, he's going to lose his shit. This lady here, the prosecutor, she's going to lose her shit. This guy here, whatever he's doing, he's going to lose his shit. This guy here, he's the bailiff. He's the surety of the courtroom right now. He is the surety, bailiff, plaintiff, defendant. He is the surety for the plaintiff, the bailiff.
I was 3 days in a row. I asked for a sweatshirt. I was freezing. You got a swamp cooler in that jail. It's loud and it's cold. And every guard was wearing a jacket, and every inmate had a sweatshirt except for me. 3 days, I asked for a sweatshirt.
Inhumane treatment, equality of treatment. This shows that that's torture. That is torture. That's a war crime. She is absolutely right, absolutely correct in presenting those facts. Period.
On the fourth day, when I asked, the guard said, "You don't sign out paperwork, you don't get nothing." Yeah, that's real sweet. There's a camera right above the toilet. Yeah, that's real sweet. You're sleeping on a steel bed. When I went and signed their paperwork, they gave me a mattress where the fabric was touching fabric. I have a 9-inch spread, thumb to little finger. And I can tell you that the padding of that mattress lay within a lump, 12 inches by 30 inches. The very first day in holding, I had a bruise on my tailbone sitting on a steel bed. You know, I'm used to a mattress, and I have a memory foam topper on top of it. I like it sweet. I went without drinking water for 13 days. I drink on average almost a gallon a day. My dog and I consume a gallon a day. You get coffee in the morning, you get Kool-Aid for lunch and dinner, and you get absolutely no water. And the only water coming out of the faucet in the bathroom is hot water. Okay, this is inhumane.
Deplorable. The necessities of human beings, the living souls. And they're supposed to provide it. That's mandatory under war crimes. And this is the state of the United States, and these people doing this in every city, every county, every state. It's time to stand up for yourself, people. If she can do it, why the fuck can't you?
I was tortured for my faith. Why would I say that? Because according to Revelation 18:4, it says, "Come out of her, my people." I am one of his people. And that Revelation 18 is all about Babylon. And yes, I did the paperwork to come out of this Babylonian system. Matthew 6:24 says, "I can't serve two masters." Well, who gets the taxes? Who gets the first tithe? The government grabs it right out of your paycheck. You don't have a choice.
And that's a perfect point there, because your tithe is supposed to be a tribute to our Father which art in heaven. And that tribute is payment through and by helping other people, not by other people demanding what you own. It's to give freely what you can freely give. In other words, only if your cup is overflowing. These people go in, they don't give a fuck whether your cup is overflowing or not. That Sedeke trust is what they're after. Period. And they will do everything in their power and take every belonging you have to put you in fear, to let them have control over that. So learn your place. Learn how to stand in that place and not move.
Steals it right from God. We don't get to give God our first fruits. I don't know what your faith is, but that's my faith. I serve the mighty Creator. It was very boring in there. And they had some books, and I was reading on average 400-page novels every single day. But on the 5th day, the guards came in and took all the books out, so I had nothing I could read. And then the girls gave me some paper. I had 3 sheets of paper. I started writing and writing and writing, front and back, as small as I could. And when I ran out of those 3 sheets of paper, the girls in the cell on the other side started giving me paper. Why? Because I befriended them. We talked about our Savior. We talked about why we were there. I wasn't preaching. I don't preach, but I shared with them that, they got themselves in trouble. And the first thing they need to do is straighten out their lives and get right with their Creator. Because if they can do that, the rest will fall in place. And that's what I spent those 13 days doing. Trying to be a big sis or a mom to those other girls who have lost their way along the way. 5 of the girls in that prison or jail recommitted their lives to God while I was there. And I'm very happy for them, and I continue to pray for them. I want you to know, sir, that I pray for you also. I pray for every one of you, because I pray that the Father will take the veil off your eyes so you can see what's really going on here. I don't know what you know. I have no idea what you know, but I know exactly how it works. And I know about the security bond, and I know how you have hit my SQQB trust. And that's what this subrogation is of that bond. Because I'll be filling out all the IRS forms. If this case is not dismissed with prejudice today, or I'll give you 3 days, as it says in the document. If it's not dismissed with prejudice, then what I plan to do is fill out these IRS forms and make sure that the account that I am responsible for, I, the private woman, is responsible for the accounting of the public woman, or the all caps name that y'all have fraudulently created. And I mean, when I say y'all, take it professionally. You obviously weren't there when I was born. But anyway, the point is, sir, that I do feel the responsibility now that I understand how all of this works, that it's my job to apply those credits to the debits. It's my job to make sure that those funds are not taken multiple times or above and beyond what's necessary. And so that's what this subrogation document is all about.
Subrogation document. Because again, like I said, they're trying to place her as the surety, as the trustee. So she's stepping up into that in respect to her responsibilities to correct that record, like I said. It's an out-of-balance record, and the debits have been used, or the credits have been used, but placed on the ledger as a debit. So she's got to correct that. That's what I'm saying. Correct the record. It's all you got to do. They've been applying it wrong because you've been applying to all the different various forms that they provide for you. That's provisional. If they provide it and you accept it, then you subject yourself to that jurisdictional venue. Don't do it. Learn how to line out and veto, overwrite, and hand it back. Even a job application, an employment application, a sales agreement from an emergency room. Look at the documentation that they present you. I went to the emergency room last year, a year ago. Well, 13 months ago, I went to the ER. They gave me a document to sign, and it says sales agreement on it. In that sales agreement, it says customer agrees to make third-party payment so long as it's understood that the credit is given to the customer's account. So when you understand that and it's in the contract, then you hold them to it. Here's my credit card. Take the $1,437.87 that I owe you, and then make sure you credit it back to me. That is circulation. You don't let it fall dead in the public venue. What you put out is supposed to come back.
I want you to pay attention, sir, to the list on this document of the people the distribution list. You see, I have notified the state's attorney. I came out of the system back in April of 2018. And when I moved to Hamilton, I was in Jacksonville at the time. When I moved to Hamilton, I redid my paperwork. So on the public record in this county, I have 2 filings with all my paperwork showing that I am an American. I'm not a U.S. citizen. I have an act of expatriation. I have a deed of reconveyance. I have a cancellation of all power of attorney. I have an assumed names that gives me a copyright and a registration on all of my names.
Okay,
You
Mr.
can't
Chair.
make money on my names. And you'll notice on this list here,
Yeah.
the state's attorney the state's attorney, the attorney general were all notified back in 2018 I'm American. Why they didn't notify y'all, I don't know. But why I'll be a persecute, I don't appreciate.
Okay.
On this list here, because you have deprived me of my rights, I've also included the Judicial Qualification Commission as well as others. So I yield.
I yield. I yield. Are you catching on? People get on me about saying I yield. It's a communication process, and that is the process that's due. My communication is with heaven. That's the communication I provide.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you commenting.
I appreciate you commenting. Spoken or written words are inventions, fabrications, and fictions. So again, while this lady went to the courtroom and made those presentations, the true message is done in private through private communications. So even though this lady is doing a wonderful job, I don't agree that she should have even appeared in court. Again, the special appearance is a species, specifically in private. Matthew 18 verse 15. It's the start of the process that's due. If there's something wrong, you're supposed to go to your brother in private. So why is the officer pulling you over alongside the road in public?
So what we'll do is, what I'm gonna do right now is continue to October 18th, see what's.
I can't do.
See what he did? What we're going to do now is continue. She said, I can't. I'm not going to be there. This isn't up for continuation. She demanded a dismiss. I would have commanded a discharge. I'm above you. I am your superior commander in communications with heaven. As an ambassador of God, I command you to love thy neighbor as thyself and to love thy God like no other. Do you? Brother, neighbor, do you?
Yes, sir. I will be at the Feast of Tabernacles from the 1st of Tishri, which is September 26th, until, let me think, what is it, 9 plus 8, 18. Around the 20th of October is the Feast of Sukkot, Feast of Tabernacles. I'll be out of town for that, celebrating with about 300.
And this is, again, this is why I don't follow people and I only research with people and I let them do their thing and I'm going to do my thing because, again, like I said, she's in this courtroom. She shouldn't be there. And what she's doing now is placating to the judge's order by giving her schedule. I'd have never done that. It makes no difference. I'm not going to come back. Makes no difference. I'm not going to be back. And this is why I stand. I'm not going to go in unless you physically take me in. And I'm not going to volunteer for that.
Believers.
What about November 15th?
Well, I mean, I don't plan to attend any more trials here. This is my last one.
Okay.
I'm hoping that you will do the right thing here and that the.
See what she said? I don't have any intentions in coming back. This is my last trial. First time I've ever been accused of anything. I'm not coming back. I'm putting you on notice. So that's the only reason she went into this court. I won't go back into them. I've got enough experience. I know I don't have to make that presentment in this courtroom with all these people. I can do it on paper, which is where it's supposed to be on. That's the only way you can make your word truer than theirs, by placing the supplemental facts to the record, not in the record. You're going to attach them to their record so that now they're attached to you. They're going to follow you around. You do want that tracking. That's the protection. See, that's part of the problem. They have this system that's tracking everybody by that social security number, but it doesn't really track them until you give them that number or that ID. Again, there is no law that says you have to have an ID, and there's no law that says you have to sign anything. None.
The state's attorney will do that Tabitha here. She does not prove her jurisdiction. Once I consent, it is her job to prove jurisdiction.
It's your job to prove jurisdiction. No, it's your job to obtain jurisdiction. If you can't obtain jurisdiction, then there is no proof of jurisdiction. Okay? I'm not going to sit there and ask them to prove jurisdiction. I'm going to point it out. according to your words, according to the words of the laws that you follow. It's defined under personal jurisdiction that for a court to obtain personal jurisdiction, I must be served properly in the state in which your court sits, telling me that you have no standing until you acquire the proper jurisdictional matters, which is territorial jurisdiction, subject matter jurisdiction, and personal jurisdiction. And if you can't serve the defendant in the state in which the court sits, then you can't obtain that personal jurisdiction first and foremost through that particular part. Then the second part that has to be combined with the proper service in the state in which the court sits is that the defendant needs to voluntarily appear in the court. So there is no way they can have personal jurisdiction by just stating that they have it. They have to obtain it properly, and that is through the voluntary appearance of the defendant in the court after they've been properly served and given notice and the invitation to come to court in private. If that private notice isn't there, their process isn't due. It's a simulated legal process. It's a threat or it's a use or threat of abuse of use of a legal process. That's a criminal thing that can get you up to 20 years.
Case is continued to November 15th. We're going to take everything you said under consideration.
Okay.
I'll look at your papers. State attorney will look at them. And on or before November 15th, we'll come to some conclusion.
I hope to get a letter from you. I will continue to get the information here. Is it Durrett, did you say?
Mr. Durrett.
I will, I'll get in touch with him. Greg was telling me, and I know Greg personally, Greg was telling me that all he does is provide you with a court case number. Somebody is creating a security on this. That's who I need to talk to. So.
And that's what she was talking about earlier, making those requests, and they wouldn't come back with it. She's looking for those bonds, and they're not giving them to her. So again, what you do is you go to the state insurance commissioner and ask them, does this person have, is this person registered in your log under any kind of insurance somewhere? I need to know their insurance. And that's the problem. A lot of these people aren't listed with the commissioner because there's blanket bonds that are covering the whole municipality and all of their agents, or their county commissioner is holding the bond as a blanket bond for all of their officers. Period. So the correct bond to look for is yours. That's why she presented her bond, the birth certificate. She needs to match that up.
If you know, or you can find out those highlighted areas in these documents, as soon as I can get that information and fill it in, then the formal documents will be sent. I hope to hear from you before that, Tabitha.
Ma'am, I do not know who creates the security.
I do not know who creates the security. The officer alongside the road created the security when he wrote you that ticket. That's the security. The original document issued for each case. The claim, the original claim, is the security instrument. It's meant to be securitized, but they securitize it through a process. And again, that process is unlawful. It is not due. It is not the process that's due without the diplomatic channels of notice. 22 CFR 93.1.
Okay, Ms. Lucero, I appreciate your comments and everything, and have a good, wherever you're going in October, wherever that is.
Feast of Tabernacles, it's in Leviticus 23.
Okay.
I'd also like to mention, if you have any influence at all with the sheriff, ask him to go into that jail and find out what's really going on. It's deplorable.
Okay.
It's a disgrace.
I'll mention it to him.
Thank you.
So what we have is a case that you saw before you that had so many different errors in it that there's no way that any of them could think that this is actually the process that's due. Any reasonable and logical man would say, well, there's definitely something wrong, because if I was in her shoes and they weren't giving the information that I need and is required in order to move forward in this case, then how is everybody else moving forward in the case on those bonds if nobody knows where the bond's at? That's bullshit. They're lying to her. They're being deceptive. Or like the judge says, I have no idea. They don't know. That proves that they are incompetent themselves. Or they are being officious intermeddlers, as I said earlier. They're officiously intermeddling and they know it. They're doing it for their paycheck. They're getting good at it. And the more they do it, the better they get at deceiving people. These people are not good. Mom told me many times when I was a kid, Keith, how do you expect to learn how to fly like an eagle if you keep hanging with these flock of turkeys? Well, the problem is that most people think the eagles are the bankers, lawyers, attorneys, judges, and all these people that are supposedly upholding the law. And that's facetious. That is so fucking comical. It's pathetic. If you can't see what they're doing wrong, then you are so deep in your cognitive dissonance that you're willing to be a slave. That's your will, not his. So, first of all, I want to say thanks for everybody that came and supported the channel. Continental Group, Crazy Horse Lady, let's see here, Bohydrus, Top G, I Am, Discog, Joe Cool, everybody. Much appreciate you supporting me here. Not a Troll 2, the Serpent King God Morpheus original. Please hit the like, share, and subscribe button. Get this information out there. People need to learn this stuff. It's very simple to just learn the true and correct process, and that's just being true at all times. At all times. So remember that. And there's a PayPal link up there if anybody wants to share some love. And there's nobody that wants to come up on panel and discuss this. So we're out. Remember, I love you, but you know the rest. I don't give a fuck whether you love me back. I'm doing my job. It's time for you to step up and do yours. When you learn how to start loving other people and doing unto others as you would have them do unto you, love thy neighbor as thyself, then maybe you'll catch on. So in the meantime, God bless. I love you. Have a good day.